All right, so today I am joined by Knox, the Canadian director of the new indie film We Forgot to Break Up. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so good. It's so hot here in Toronto right now. It's probably 34 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit for.
I would
I
say
think
34 degrees sounds lovely if it wasn't Fahrenheit.
that sounds gorgeous. It's very hot. It's very hot. I could ask Siri, but just it's yeah, everyone's sweating here today. So I've got like a nice sheen on, which is nice for the Zoom. So
There you go. There you go. I live in the St. Louis area, and we're like, and we're getting in that heat dome is coming over America right now, and like it's like been in the low 90s Fahrenheit. So yeah, it's been a little steamy here.
very good. Global
Yeah,
warming, baby.
I know global warming. Yes. Well, Knox, tell me, how excited are you that We Forgot to Break Up is going to be playing at Frameline 48, San Francisco's International LGBTQ plus film festival?
I am so excited. I think mostly excited because I have looked at the schedule for the festival and there are such an amazing showcase. It's such an amazing showcase of artists, of films that are going to be there. There's a couple other Canadian films that are going to be repping there too. A couple of my friends have some projects, which is just, really exciting. But
Mhm.
really it's an iconic lineup. It's an iconic festival in, one of the historic queer metropolitan centers of the world. So very, very excited.
Good, good. Yeah, so We Forgot to Break Up follows The New Normals, a young queer Canadian indie band who leave behind their small town roots and chase after their dreams of being indie rock gods in the big city. So, as director, what was your overall vision?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, the film is based on a book
Mhm.
called Heidegger Stairwell, which the producer Nicole Hilliard Ford, huge shout outs. None of this would have been possible without her diligent and dedicated work on this project. She optioned the rights to the book 10 years ago.
Mhm.
That's how long sometimes making feature films takes.
Yeah.
And so I started with the book. Of course, I read the screenplay first, and then I was, certain that I needed to look at the original source material before
Mhm.
I would dive into how we were going to make this sprawling rock epic work on an indie budget. So I read the book, and the thing that really stood out to me in the book in terms of sort of a visual touchstone was this idea of what I like to describe as shithole glamour, as Francis Bacon likes to say, gilded squalor.
Okay.
So that was something that I knew needed to be present in the film from the get-go. There needed to be this nice collision of something that was glamorous and sexy and dangerous and dark, because that is sort of what is pulling the band towards fame, towards music, towards art. But then also that punk rock kind of underground, gross, dirty aesthetic. And those two things kind of, butting up against each other, I think is just such an interesting aesthetic. There's history has proven time and time again that it's an attractive sort of collision of not necessarily two aesthetics that go together.
Mhm.
So that was sort of the visual inspiration, and then I wanted to split the kind of visual language that we were using from a cinematic standpoint into two different styles as well.
Okay.
So a lot of the film incorporates elements of sort of a found footage style.
Mhm.
Everything that is that style was shot on high eight. So we used an authentic camera from the period, and it's sort of shot from the perspective of the band. And I was just ripping the aesthetic of like band documentaries from the late 90s, 2000s. So like Tondi Ortimer's Dig exclamation point, Sundance Darling of I think 2004 maybe it came out, about the Dandy Warhols and Brian Johnstone massacre. I watched that documentary and I made everybody in the cast watch the documentary too. And I was like, we need to rip this style and make it feel like you guys who are playing these band members, we need to make it feel like you guys have known each other for 15 years, and that you have this kind of repartee with one another, and that you're constantly just recording each other on camera. And so we had one high eight camera that we used for production, and then one that I just gave to the actors. And I was like, I don't care if you're on set, off set, whatever you're doing. They actually lived together in like a tiny loft the whole time we were shooting too. They sort of all volunteered and they were like, okay, sure, let's all live together. So they just shot so much footage for me. And that was such a gift in the edit too, because it really allowed for me to sort of, steal that kind of authentic
Yeah.
vibe of like found footage to sort of, um, you know, uh, gently work into the beautiful, jewel toned kind of
Mhm.
cinematic narrative footage that we use to capture the rest of the story. So that is a long-winded answer about where I was inspired. Where did I start to do that? I could talk more and more and more about the movie, but I'm sure you have another question.
Yeah, I have a couple more questions. Yeah, that was kind of on my list. Well, at the center of the band is Evan, who is trans and played by musical artist Lane Weber. What made him perfect for this role?
Well, Lane Weber and I have known each other for, I want to say 7 or 8 years now. I have been working with him as an actor for quite a while now. And it's been amazing to watch him grow as an artist.
Mhm.
He was primarily identifying as a musician and was not really sure if he wanted to be an actor. And even when I told him, I read the script and I was like, there's only one person in this country who can do this, literally. I was like, it's got to be Lane Weber. So we started texting about it a little bit and he was like, he's like, I don't really know if I want to be an actor. And I was like, oh my God, please, you have to do this. I know you're perfect for this role. I was like, I'm going to get you on board. So we had a lot of dialogue about the script, and he was generous enough to sort of, help guide some of the process of developing the script and developing the character and making it feel really sort of um, suited to who he was as a human being. Um, and he sings all of his own songs in the
Oh,
movie.
nice. Mhm.
Oh yeah, and like to great aplomb too. He's such a talented musician, and I think I don't know. I'd have to ask him if he like is still. He'd still say he was a musician first,
Yeah.
but I think when people see this movie, they will know that he is also destined to be a star as an actor because his performance in this movie is like I think truly remarkable.
For sure. And same with June Laporte. Is that how you say her last
Mhm.
name? Laporte,
Yes,
who
yes.
plays his.
June is they them pronouns.
Oh, June. Oh, okay, they. Then I'm sorry. So same with June Laporte, who plays
I
Evan's girlfriend,
yeah.
Isis. Yes, that's she's. I'm getting names mixed up. Sorry about that. So
No,
why did you cast them?
So it was actually a real tough hunt for to find ISIS.
Hmm.
We sort of did like a nationwide casting for all the five band members, and June brought a sensitivity to the role that we just didn't see in anybody else.
Okay.
Their audition was just so understated and subtle and beautiful. And I mean, they have these like eyes that are just these huge, like massive pools of empathy and kind of like haunting heartbreak. And
Hmm.
I think for me, that's what I really wanted to communicate with Isis, because I mean, Isis kind of, it's a tough character because Isis is the one who is standing in the way of this like super sexy romance,
Hmm.
spoiler alert, between Evan and his other band member, Lou. And I mean, I'm kind of one of those people that's always like, oh, I want the like, they're clearly meant to be together. So
Yeah.
like, we want them to get together, like, Isis, get out of the way. But finding the humanity in that character and finding how to elicit like a tender sympathy, I think, from an audience response. Because I mean, ultimately, Isis, stands by the person that she loves pretty unequivocally, and in the end, is ultimately able to forgive too.
Mhm.
Another spoiler alert. But I think that yeah, June is really masterful at communicating loss, I think, as an actor. And I
Awesome.
think that's sort of what really drew me to them.
Awesome. Fantastic. How important would you say it is to tell trans stories right now?
I mean, it's massive. I mean, we're seeing, you know, like it feels so much like we make progress and we get to see all of these headlines. And every time Pride Month rolls around, we look back, at history and we go, wow, look how far we've come. But it feels to me like in the past couple of years, there have been steps backwards.
A
I mean,
lot, yeah.
a lot of legislation that is happening right now are threatening trans rights.
Mhm.
And it just feels like, every time we make progress, we can't rest on our laurels and, we can't stop telling these stories and stop working to make sure that these conversations aren't sort of being, marginalized again.
Yeah.
So I love, I'm an optimist at heart. I love to believe that, that we are making progress because we are,
Mhm.
but truly it has felt in the last couple of years like, whew,
Yeah,
really? Like
I know,
this,
right?
we're having this conversation again?
Again, yeah.
Yeah. So I think really it remains vital storytelling and vital work.
Definitely, I agree. And we forgot to break up. Now, Frame Line isn't the world premiere of this movie, right? It's played before at other festivals.
Yeah, a couple. We premiered at BFI Flair in
Okay.
London in March, which was awesome. I got to see some really cool movies there as well. And then we just had another screening here in Toronto at TIFF for the Inside Out Festival. We were the gala night closing film, and that was really cool too, because it was the first time that like a hometown audience got to see
Mhm.
it. So people were screaming.
Okay.
Local bars were featured on screen.
That's my next question. Like, how has the audience response been?
It's been amazing. I mean, honestly, getting to show it in Toronto was so special just
Right.
because there are so many sort of landmark institutions that we've included in the piece to sort of, showcase Toronto as almost like a character in the film as well. I mean, this is such a like definitively Toronto story. It is really about the indie music scene in Toronto in the late 90s, early 2000s, which was a special time. There was some really cool music coming out of Toronto at that particular time. Not that I was really aware of it. It was a lot of research I had to do was kind of like going back, like because I arrived in Toronto in 2009.
Mhm.
This was about like 10 years before I kind of got there.
Mhm.
So I had to, I was talking to a lot of like Gen Xers about like what the scene was like then and getting a lot of reference. And Nicole was incredibly helpful in that too, because she was sort of part of that
Mhm.
indie music scene. But yeah, if anybody is like a fan of like Peaches, The Hidden Cameras,
Mhm.
Sloan, Stars, Mistress Barbara, they will love this movie because it's a soundtrack that is composed completely of music from that time period.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Fantastic. Now, is there anything you ultimately hope audiences take away from the film?
Um, I've been saying that I think that the sexy queer love triangle is really in the zeitgeist right now. Uh, we had Luca Guadagnino's Challengers and Iris X Passages, which were two of my favorite films in the past year. And I think The Beating Heart of We Forgot to Break Up is also a very sexy queer love triangle
Mhm.
that is, tragic in some ways as well. But like, you can't have a queer sexy love triangle without a little bit of tragic romance.
Of course.
So I hope that people, because I mean, I left Challengers just feeling so charged up about filmmaking and about like how we're showcasing love on screen and the different dynamics of, human interpersonal relationships. So I
Mhm.
hope that people feel a little bit horny when they leave. When they leave. And I hope they feel really charged up about like nostalgia.
Okay, awesome, fantastic. And We Forgot to Break Up is also your sophomore feature. How would you say you have grown and evolved as a director since your debut film, Adult Adoption?
Well, it's amazing to have bigger budgets.
Always.
It's amazing what money can
I
do.
know, right?
But I think too, I'm becoming a lot more confident in being ambitious about what you can do even on a smaller budget. I mean, We Forgot to Break is yes, we definitely had a bigger budget on this one, but it's still an indie. But things don't scare me as much anymore.
Yeah.
I just think, now there's always the sort of, I enter now when I'm, preparing a film. I'm about to start preparing my fourth feature now.
Mm.
It's kind of, now it just feels like, why not?
Hmm.
Like, don't see the problems before they become problems. Keep going until something absolutely stops you. And I think that that was something that I learned on We Forgot to Break Up, because it was such an ambitious script that it was like, I didn't have I was like, okay, we have to shoot a concert scene with 300 extras now. Like that's scripted. We have to figure out how we're going to do that.
Mm.
So it just sort of taught me to kind of not be afraid of challenges, and that that nothing is a problem until it becomes a problem.
Hmm.
Don't think about the problems in advance, just think about solutions, or
Okay.
like how you can creatively fix it. Do it
Okay.
happen.
Make it happen. Make it happen. Yes. Well, after frame line, what's next for We Forgot to Break Up?
So we are going to be having a theatrical release across North America, and then it will be available for people to stream online at a certain date that's unconfirmed yet. But it will be available with the click of a button on your computer or smart TV, etc. Probably within the year.
Okay.
Um, and I can't wait for it to have sort of like a wider release
Mhm.
globally. I'm one of those directors that reads my letterboxed reviews. So,
Oh yeah.
so I can't wait until so many people can watch it, so I can cheekily be reading all of your civilian reviews on Letterboxd, because I love to read them.
There you go. Well, what are some future goals you hope to accomplish with your career?
Mm. I have a couple of projects in development right now. Like I said, I'm sort of starting soft prep for my fourth feature film.
Okay.
And I also have a series in development that is actually, it's a half-hour comedy about a mostly queer, mostly female beer league slow pitch team.
Hmm.
And this is based on a web series that I created with Gwendolyn Cummin and Jay Stevens, and it's been picked up to go to half hour. So it'll be like more good gay content in the
Nice.
future.
We always need that.
I know, so much, but I'm really excited about the feature that I'll be directing, because it's going to be the first one that is my script. I've
Okay.
directed now that have been written by other people.
Hmm.
Um, it was amazing to do that, but I'm really thrilled that I'll finally get to sort of be like, okay,
Hmm.
here's all of me. Here's my brain on the screen. I've got no excuses. This is just my naked soul,
There
and
you
take me as I am.
go. There you go. Awesome. Well, how can one stay up to date and find out more information about We Forgot to Break Up?
Well, you can follow Motel Pictures on Instagram, which is the production company for the film, or I am terminally online, so very active on social media. So if you want to follow me, I'm knox.x.x.x on Instagram, and yeah, you won't miss anything if you're following me there. I'm pretty candid.
There you go. Perfect. Then before we wrap up, are there any other upcoming projects or anything else you would like to mention or plug at this time?
Well, I just had like this spring I had two films on the festival circuit. Another one called The Year of Staring at Noses, which I wrote, directed, and starred in, that premiered at Slam Dance in Park City in January, and then went on to a bunch of different festivals in LA and New York. And it just dropped online. So if you Google The Year of Staring at Noses plus my name, or if you go to my Instagram account, you'll find a link and you can watch it. And it is it's a hybrid narrative documentary about when I got a nose job and tried to get on The Bachelor. So
Okay.
if you're a fan of plastic surgery and bad reality television shows, and like kind of experimental hybrid fiction narrative dramas, then you're gonna love this movie.
Sounds like right up my husband's alley.
Okay, well then you can send it to him.
Yes, I will. Awesome.